Hello, and welcome back. I am so glad you could join me again this week for another reading. Uh, First of all, and as always, a huge thank you to my patrons. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. If you would like to support them, as well as, be aware of some announcements that only the patrons get to see ahead of time, click the link in the description. There are also other ways to support the channel. Still kind of sticking with this setup for now. I've got a couple of ideas on how to get it a little more cozy, but we'll see how it goes. I don't have a whole lot to say at the beginning of this episode. Patrons, keep your eyes open on a previous announcement. I've got some things in the works for that. So, I've got my mug of undisclosed drink. My roommate's cat is screaming outside. And again, I've got my bookmark from Belligerently Bookish. Definitely check out their bookmarks and just art in general, really. And I think we're going to jump right back in to The Legend of Luke by Brian Jacques, Chapter 21. It was a bitter winter noon when the ship Sena, crewed by Luke and a score of his fighting mice, slid down its shale runway on the ice the season had provided. With one fluke buried in the sand, the anchor held the ship against an ebbing tide. Even though her sails were furled, the Sena strained against the anchor rope as if eager to be gone. All the farewells had been made, and the crew had sent their friends and families back into the caves, not wishing them to stand out tearful and freezing to wave off the ship. Luke was last to leave. Martin sat stone-faced outside the cave. Luke could not reason with him. Son, you would not last 2 moons out there against the high seas. I cannot risk your life pitting you in battle against the sea scum that I am sworn to do war with. Listen to me. I know what is best for you. But Martin would not listen. I want to sail on the ship and be a warrior like you. Luke spread his paws wide and sighed with frustration. What am I going to do with you, Martin? You have my warrior spirit and your mother's determination. Listen, son. Take my sword. It was a fighting sword and well used. Luke pressed it into his son's paws. The young mouse gazed wide-eyed at the battle-scarred blade and gripped the handle tight, as if he would never let go. Luke smiled, recalling the time when his father had passed the sword on to him. Tapping a paw against the cross-hilt, he said, I can see it is in you to be a fighter, Martin. The first thing a warrior must learn is discipline. Martin felt as though the sword were speaking for him. Tell me what I must do, and I will obey. Relief surged through Luke as he commanded the would-be warrior. You will stay and help defend our cave against all comers, protect those weaker than yourself, and honor our code. Always use the sword to stand for good and right. Never do a thing that you would be ashamed of, and never let your heart rule your mind. He tapped the blade once more as its pitted edge glinted in the winter morning. And never let another creature take this sword from you, not as long as you live. When the time comes, pass it on to another, maybe your own son. You will know instinctively if he is a warrior. If not, hide the sword where only a true warrior who is brave of heart would dare to go and find it. Swear this to me, Martin. I swear it on my life. The young mouse's grey eyes reflected the wintry sea as he spoke. Martin saw that the tide would soon be turning. It might be some seasons before I return, but I'll be back, son. Meanwhile, Timballisto is a promising and sensible creature, with more seasons under his belt than you, and I've left him in charge of our tribe. Obey him. A determined smile, reminiscent of his mother, hovered on Martin's lips. Of course I'll obey him, but one day I shall be in charge. A great feeling of pride enveloped Luke. I'm sure you will. Farewell, my son. Rigging ropes hummed around broad-bellying sails as the Sena skimmed into the deeps like a great white swan, headed west out onto the main. Luke turned for a moment from the tiller and looked back astern. He saw the small figure standing on the pebbled stand alone, waving the sword in a warrior's salute. The vessel dipped bow into a roiling trough, and when she rose on the next wave crest, the shoreline was lost in an afternoon of snow and icy winter spume. Luke turned back to his crew, certain he had chosen fighters whom he could trust to be at his side through thick and thin. Verg, Cardo, Dulum, Coll, and the rest. They stood waiting his orders, clinging to the taffrails to stay upright on the heaving deck. Cardo was, not looking too well. Luke shook his head. "Get below decks, all of you. Batten down everything and stay there. 'Tis going to get rough. I'll take tiller and first watch. We have to learn to be sailors now. Sea beasts. So like all beginners, we can expect to be sick." "Me too. There's nothing to be ashamed of. We'll get used to stormy seas in a few days." Cardo had definitely taken on an unhealthy pallor. "Permission to jump over the side and drown myself, Captain." Just looking at his friend made Luke feel queasy. "I'll drown you myself if you start that captain business. My name's Luke, and that's what you'll call me. Permission denied. Now get below, all of you." The entire crew shouted back at him. "Aye, aye, Captain." Luke was glad they had not lost their sense of humor. It was 3 days before they were out of the stormy latitudes. The evening of the 4th day saw calm seas with no trace of snow. Luke realized they must have drifted southwest instead of holding the northwest course. A meeting was held in the captain's cabin, and Luke told the others what had happened. "'Twas my fault, really. I'm still only learning about being at sea. You may have noticed the weather's changed for the better. Well, that's because we've drifted south." But Verg would not hear of his friend taking the blame. "Oh, frog feathers, mate. 'Tis the fault of every beast, eh? We've all taken our turn at the tiller. Being seasick or sleepy didn't help things. Little wonder we drifted off course. Ain't that right, pals?" The crew agreed, though Coll had a question. Just what was our original course? Seems to me we've just been sailing willy-nilly, eh, Verg? Well, I suppose there's little else you can do when you're searching the seas for the red ship." Luke gestured at the empty shelves around the cabin. "What are we supposed to do? There's not a chart or map aboard the vessel. Most of the pirates sail by instinct. I've been thinking, maybe 'tis best what we're doing, letting the winds and currents carry us." Cardo had regained his color, as had the rest of them. "Why do you say that, Captain? Sorry. Luke." "Well, look at it this way. Sea scum hate the cold, stormy seas as much as we do, so it stands to sense they'd sail to warmer waters. I have a feeling the farther south we sail, the more chance we'll have of meeting with Vilu Daskar." Dulum spoke up as he headed for the door. "Great idea. I'm with you, Luke, but after 3 days sick, I'm feeling much better, except that I'm famished. Let's break out some victuals and get a decent feed inside of us." Dulum's suggestion was welcomed wholeheartedly. The crew were much happier now that they were in calmer climes, with a plan of action worked out. A full moon beamed down on the Sena as she drifted south on calm seas. Luke let Denno, a fat jolly mouse, take the tiller. "Let her sail easy, Denno. Just keep your eyes open and check the tiller from swinging wide in another direction. I can tell by the smoke coming from our galley that there's some serious cooking going on. Better take a peek, eh?" Denno shook his head, chuckling. "You'll probably get chased away. There's more cooks in the galley than you could shake a stick at. And that Cardo's the worst of all. Think he's captain of the stew pot." Lantern light and steam came from the open galley window. Out on the darkened deck, Luke shook with suppressed laughter as he watched the antics of his crew. They bustled and bumped into one another, each trying to advise or outdo the other with tips on cooking expertise. "Not too much of that dried barley. Go easy. Oh, rubbish. Mamma always says put plenty of barley in everything she cooked. Aye, and I thought your mum's fruitcake tasted a bit funny. Well, it didn't stop you from scoffing it, you great lard bucket." "Are you? Lard bucket yourself, mate. Oi, Durham, where are you going with that salt? Ship stew needs lots of salt." "How do you know? 'Tis the first time you've been on a ship. Put any more salt in that stew, and we'll drink the water barrels dry afore morning." Aye, aye there, chop those carrots smaller, mate. Get out, I like big bobs of carrots. So that means we've all got to have great lumps of carrots? It won't hurt you. Hey, 'tis my turn to stir. Give me that ladle. I'll give it you on your nose, see how you like that. A large cauldron of stew was carried into the big cabin, where Luke had set out beakers of ale and an oatcake by each place. Doing his utmost to keep a straight face, he tried sniffing appreciatively. That smells good. What is it, Cardo? A heated debate broke out over the cauldron's contents. I call it Cardo's carrot sea stew. Oh, do you now? Well, I calls it Verg's vegetable delight. Adds it all the work, so 'tis going to be called Cole's combination concoction. No, it ain't. 'Tis Doolam's delicious ship stew. Luke banged on the mess table with the serving ladle. Enough! I won't have mutiny aboard my ship over a pot of grub. I'll name the stew. Put it down here. They watched as Luke ladled a portion into his bowl. Blowing on a spoonful, he sampled it gingerly, with his crew looking on anxiously. Bravely, Luke chewed at the stew, his face expressionless. He put down the spoon and took a deep draught of ale. They all spoke the word at once. Well? Luke picked something from between his teeth and looked at it quizzically before returning his verdict. I think it should be called crunchy barley, half-cooked carrot lump, far too salty hot water stew. So, if you'll excuse me, I'll just stick to oatcake and ale for tonight's meal, mate. Eat up and see how you like it. Luke wandered out deck with his frugal meal. I'll take the tiller a while, mate. You go and get something to eat. Deno immediately stopped gazing at the peaceful moon-flaked waves and relinquished his watch. Certainly smelled great when they carried it to the cabin, Luke. Thank you, mate. I'll enjoy some of that stew. Luke smiled awryly. Oh, I'm sure you will. Soft, pastel-hued skies heralded the dawn. A mouse named Cordell dozed at the tiller, a canteen of water held loosely in his paw. Cole came to relieve him, sipping from a beaker. Fine when you are sleeping on watch. Good job Luke never caught you, and he'd have whacked your tail off. Cordell blinked sleepily and took a quick swig of water. Leastways, while I'm sleeping, I'm not drinking. I tell you, Cole, I never drank so much water in me life. No more of that blinking stew for me, mate. You could have stood a spoon up in the salt that went into it. If we capture any sea rogues, I reckon we should feed it to 'em. That'll teach 'em a lesson. But Cordell was not listening. He was staring eagerly out to sea. What's up, Cordell? Look! Land! I'm sure of it! That's land of some sort, dead ahead! Land ho! Instantly the ship came alive. The mouse crew tumbled from their bunks and staggered out on deck, rubbing sleep from their eyes as they followed the outstretched paw of Cordell. It's land! Land! Dead ahead, Luke! Cordell spotted land! Luke climbed down to the bowsprit and viewed the dark blot on the horizon. Aye, 'tis land sure enough. An island by the look of it. Take in the bow and mainsails, Cole, and steer north. We'll sail in a nice easy round to the other side of that island. No sense in charging at it full sail. Right, mates, I want you all armed and alert. Cordell, Deno, Doolam, stay with the ship and guard it close. The rest of you, come ashore with me. Make no noise, and tread carefully and follow my lead. There's no telling what we might meet. The Sena dropped anchor in a sheltered inlet on the island's west side at early noontide. It was sunny, silent, and windless. Luke inspected the high rocks surrounding the cove. Seabirds nested in the crags beneath a jumble of trees and vegetation growing on the cliff tops. Climbing over the ship's side, the shore party waded through clear, sun-warmed shallows to a narrow strip of sandy beach. Verg gripped his spear tight, whispering to Luke, I don't like it, mate. 'Tis far too quiet. The place gives me the creeps. I feel like somebody's watching us. Luke drew a scimitar he had chosen from the former crew's weaponry. He pointed it at a strange sight, a flight of steps carved into the cliffs. I wonder who took the trouble to do that. Looks as if they've been here a long time. Let's take a look. In single file they climbed the smooth, well-carved steps, which, though narrow, were easily negotiable. They ascended in several zigzag shapes to the cliff top. From above, the Sena looked very small in the cove below. Cordo uprooted something from the ground, which he wiped on his tunic before beginning to eat it. Young onion. Wonder how that got here. A loud, frightening cry rang out from the trees. The hair on Cordo's nape stood straight up, and he dropped the onion. What in the name of frogs was that? Luke and Verg began creeping forward, gesturing to the rest not to follow them. Stay here. We'll go take a look. Crouching low, they made their way into the thickets. A small bird whistled somewhere, but other than that, the only sound of the two mice heard was their own footpaws rustling through the ferns. After a while, Luke straightened up. Well, whatever it was, there's neither sight nor sound of it now, matey. Verg uncrouched, and something bumped lightly against the back of his head. He turned cautiously. Ho-ho! Pears! A whole tree full of 'em! It was a pear tree laden with fine, ripe fruit. Verg picked one, squeezed it gently, nodded approvingly, then took a huge bite. Sweet and juicy, mate. Wonderful. Luke reached for a pear, grinning at his friend's dew-sweated face. Old greedy guts. Are you eating that pear or taking a bath in it? Splack! A thick piece of wood with a metal point at either end whipped out of nowhere and thudded deep into the tree trunk between them. It was followed by a loud booming voice echoing out of the stillness of the trees. Sea scum! Touch not my food! Go from this place, or Weragula will tear you limb from limb and devour you! Luke threw his spear to the ground. Do as I say, Verg. Drop your pear and let's get back to the crew. Don't argue. Verg was not about to disagree. He dropped the half-eaten pear as if it were a poisonous reptile, and followed Luke back the way they had come. When he figured they were both out of sight, Luke dropped down behind a fallen tree. Verg was still wide-eyed and trembling. Did you hear that, mate? It must have come from a beast 10 times bigger than a badger. You lay low here till I get back. Give me a spear. Before Verg had a chance to argue, Luke plucked the spear from his paws and was gone. Bellying down, Luke crawled back to the pear tree. Then he lay still, checking the area keenly, eyes darting back and forth as he searched the trees for any sign of movement. Satisfied that he was not being watched, Luke picked up his fallen spear and stuck it on the point of Verg's spear. Acting speedily, he flung the spear butt end first into a thick bush, where the spear on the spear point remained clearly visible, sticking out of the leaves. Next, Luke gave the pear tree a good shake, calling out loud, Ha! These must be the pear trees the captain told us about! Then he wriggled off into the shrubbery, with his teeth clamped tight around the scimitar, and lay still, watching. Suddenly, another metal-tipped wooden club struck the pear from the spear tip, and a mad, booming voice howled angrily. You did not heed my warning! Now Weragula says you must die! A wild, ragged figure hurtled across the tiny clearing and flung itself into the bush, undoubtedly hoping to come to grips with whoever was holding the spear. Luke was after it in a flash. The beast was immediately at a disadvantage, trapped with his bottom sticking out of the bush. The sturdy mouse dealt a target a tidy whack with the flat of the blade and shouted sternly, Come on out of there, you savage! The reply came back after an agonized gasp. Ha ha! Stab me from the rear! Sea scum! You pirates are all the same! Just wait till I get out of here! Luke gave the bottom another whack with his flat blade. Mayhap this will help you, Welagula, or whatever you call yourself. Here, have another taste of my blade! He laid on another stinging blow, and the beast almost somersaulted out of the bush in a cloud of leaves and broken twigs. Typical vermin pirate type, what? Can't slay a chap without jolly well torturing him to death first. Oh, my posterior's a flippin' flame, you great lout! It was a hare, garbed ridiculously in rags, seashells, and strands of vegetation, its face stained purple with berry juice. Luke watched it cautiously as he put up his sword. I'm no sea scum. My name's Luke, and I'm a chieftain from far across the seas. The hare stood up, rubbing his tail area ruefully. Oh, I see. That gives you the blinking right to land up here and whale the tar out of chaps' bottoms with your sword. Probably why you were to leave the place you came from. Every beast got fed up with you walloping all sundry around the nether regions with swords and what not, so they banished you from the blinking land. Say then, scurvy cad, beaten up any other poor creatures today, what? Speak up, sir! Luke was astonished at the nerve of the hare. Hold on a tick, Floppies. First, you go terrifying my crew with your howling and wailing. Then you try to kill me by flinging those funny-looking spears of yours. Then you got the brass neck to complain when you get caught at it? Just who do you think you are? Puffing out his narrow chest, the hare clapped a paw to his stomach and bowed curtly. Who do I think I am, sir? I am smoke on the wind. I am a creature of many resources. To the vermin inhabiting this island, I am Weragula, the purple-faced terror. In a far more elegant life than this, I was known as Beau Clare Feathering Soul Cross-Fortingham, fondly referred to as just Beau by my family and friends, and my dear old nanny. What? Verg stole cautiously at brandishing a stick. Ah, there you are, Luke. But who's this creature? Luke made the introductions. This is the one who was doing all the shouting and throwing weapons at us. Verg, meet Beau. The hare regarded Verg's outstretched paw suspiciously. Verg, eh? Sounds a right murderous vermin name, if I ever heard one. Chaps looks shifty, too. Yeah, I'm not totally convinced that you two aren't sea rogues. Luke sighed impatiently. Well, we're not standing around all day just to convince you. Come on, Verg. Let's round up the crew and get back aboard the ship. We're wasting time here. They had only gone a few paces when Beau leapt in front of them with a broad grin pasted across his purple features. Oh, my silly o' me, what? Mice aren't sea scum. They're good chaps like myself. Have you really got a ship, Admiral Luke? Are you sailing away from this confounded isle? Take me with you, sirs. I beg of you. I even provision your vessel with the food I grow here. You won't be sorry. Old Salty Beau, they call me on the shipboard. Can turn my port anything nautical. Hoist me mains, loose the anchors, take a turn round the rigging, and boggle me bilges. What? I can spout all sort of that old season. Luke could not help smiling at the lanky, excited creature. Keep that up, Beau, and we'll make you swim behind the ship to give us a bit of peace. You say you've got provisions? Provisions, grub, rations, squaff, victuals, tucker, you name it, Luke, my mouse. I've got it. Luke was forced to place a paw across Beau's mouth. Enough, mate. You can sail with us on 2 conditions. Cut the cackle, and show us to the provisions. And that is where we'll end tonight's reading. Thank you again so much for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you're enjoying the readings, please like, comment, share, subscribe, the whole thing. A huge thank you again to my patrons. If you would like to join them, the link to support is in the description. As well, down there are links to my socials, if you guys are that interested. But yes, updates on an upload schedule are going to be coming pretty soon in the next couple of weeks, so keep your eyes open for that. And I will see you guys at the next reading. I hope you have a good week. Stay safe. I hope you stay healthy. Bye, guys.